Hello everyone, welcome to this video series on arithmetic. In this session we will discuss about the definitions and properties of proportion and variation. So we'll start with proportion. Proportion definition wise, any four quantities say A, B, C, D are said to be proportional if the ratio of A by B or A is to B is equal to ratio C is to D. That is A by B as a fraction is equal to C by D. So what does this mean? I mean, if there are four numbers A, B, C, D, so if A is to B as C is to D, this means that if A by B is equal to C by D, then A, B, C, D are known as or A, B, C, D are called proportional to each other. That means A by B is equal to C by D. Here, uh, the general notation is A is to B is proportional to C is to D. So here A, B, C, D, A is known as the first term. The A, B, C, D are the terms of the proportion. A is called the first term. B is known as the second term. C is known as the third term of the proportion. And D is known as the fourth term of the proportion. So this is the standard notation. A, B, C, D are the terms where A is the first term, B is the second term, C is the third term, and D is the fourth term. Further, here A and D, the two extremes of this proportion, A and D are known as the extremes. That is what I have written here. The terms A and D are called the extremes, while B and C are called the means. So A and D are extremes and B and C are called means. The two numbers in the center are the means and the two extremes are known as extremes of a proportion. So now if we see here a couple of things we can note down here, like if A by B is equal to C by D, so can we not say A into D is equal to B into C? Therefore, the product of the extremes A into D is equal to product of means. So what does this mean? That product of extremes is equal to product of means for a set of number ABCD where ABCD are proportional. So if ABCD are proportional in that order, then the product of the extremes, that is A into D, will be same as the product of means. That we see from here. A by B is equal to C by D. So we can, by cross multiplying, we can say that A into D is equal to B into C. Right. So this is some properties or general, terminologies, well-known terminologies of proportion. So this is a general expression of proportion A is to B as C is to D. Now there is another way herein. If say a number is in this form, A by B is equal to B by C is equal to C by D is equal to D by E is equal to E by F, and so on. So that see what is the thing here. It is the denominator of the first ratio is same as the numerator of the second ratio. The denominator of the second ratio is same as the numerator of the first ratio. So here A by B is equal to B by C is equal to C by D is equal to D by E. So any ratio expressed in this form is known as continued proportion. Continued proportion. So what is the difference between A by B is equal to C by D? What we have written here and what here A by B and C by D, all the numbers are different. A, B, C, D are different. Whereas here A by B is equal to B by C is equal to C by D. So here the denominator of the first ratio is same as the numerator of the second ratio. So this is a general expression of a continued proportion. If we look this into terms of three ratios only. So three terms only. So A by B is equal to B by C. This is also in proportion. Same, because we have any ratio which can be expressed in this form is a proportion. So A by B is equal to B by C is a proportion. But here the denominator of the first ratio is same as the numerator of the second ratio. Therefore, this is also a case of continued proportion, right? And this we express as A is to B is to B is to C, right? B is to C. This is the way we express this expression. And now from here we can write this. Uh, if we cross multiply, we can write this as B square is equal to A into C, right? B square is equal to A into C. And here A, B, C, only three numbers are there. So A is called the first proportion. B is called the second proportion. Because since here only three numbers are here, A, B and C, so A is called first proportion, B is called second proportion, and C is called third proportion. Similarly here A is called first term or first proportion, B is called second term or second proportion, and D is called fourth term or fourth proportion. So same way here we are writing. Now one more characteristics of a continued proportion is that now we know that if A by B is equal to B by C, so what can I do? I can multiply both the sides of equation by A by B, right? Both left hand side and right hand side by A by B. So left hand side becomes A square by B square, and right hand side what happens? B gets cancelled out, so it becomes A by C. So that is what I have written here. Also A by C is equal to A square by B square. That is the ratio of first and the square of the first and the second proportion is same as the ratio of the first and the third proportion. Or in other words, the ratio of first to third proportion is the duplicate ratio of first to second proportion. What is duplicate ratio? This we have seen in our earlier discussion. Duplicate ratio of A by B is A square upon B square, right? So this also we proved here. How come? See, we may not remember this. I mean, it would not be reasonable for me to expect everything can be remembered. But if you have got the derivation part or the properties are clear, these things can be easily derived or used in any calculation or wherever I mean required. So this is the basic overview of proportion, and this we will be requiring or using going forward in solving the illustrations. Now we will look into certain properties of proportion, and here a few things. This is a high school level mathematics or even 7th or 8th standard. So here see, A by B is equal to C by D means A, B, C, D are in proportion. So if that is the case, then we can write A by C is equal to B by D. That is, I mean, there's no rocket science here. It is A by B is equal to C by D. So with just taking the denominator right side and bringing the numerator from there this side. So it will be A by C is equal to B by D. Right? This we can do just rearranging the equation. So this is true, and this we know as alternando. Just a name given, alternando. If similarly, if A by B is equal to C by D, then we can write B by A is equal to D by C. That is, if A by B is equal to C by D, so what can we do? I mean, see, this we if we cross multiply, we can write this as A into D is equal to C into B. So now, if what I can do, I can take retain D here, so D, and take C from here downside in denominator, so D by C, and then this A I take to the denominator of right hand side, it will become B by A. That is what is given. So A by B is equal to C by D is nothing but we can also write D by C is equal to B by A. And so what are we doing? We are basically reversing the numerator with denominator both on LHS and RHS. This is known by invertendo. which is a very self-intuitive thing, but it goes by the name of invertendo in the mathematics. Now, if A by B is equal to C by D, so here if A by B is equal to C by D, so if I add 1 to the both sides of the equation, A by B plus 1 is equal to C by D plus 1. So this will be what? A plus B by B is equal to C plus D by D. This is what is called componendo. So basically what is it? If A by B is equal to C by D, so we can also write this as, we will add the denominator to the numerator on both LHS and RHS. So A plus B by B is equal to C plus D by D. Right? This also we should keep in the back of the mind. Now see here, same way here it is A by B is equal to C by D, that is A, B, C, D are in proportion. So if I subtract 1 from both LHS and RHS, so what would it be? It will be nothing but A minus B upon B is equal to C minus D upon D. So this is what is M. So this is known as dividendo. The earlier one is componendo. Componendo means we are adding the denominator to the numerator on both LHS and RHS. And in dividendo, we are subtracting the denominator from numerator on both LHS and RHS. Right. So if A by B is equal to C by D, then we can also write A minus B by B is equal to C minus D by D. And then the last one, if A by B is equal to C by D, so we know that we can write this as A plus B by B is equal to C plus D by D by componendo, and A minus B by B is equal to C minus D by D by dividendo. Now from these two equations, if I divide the two equations, I can write this as A plus B by A minus B is equal to C plus D by C minus D. Right, this is known as componendo dividendo, componendo and dividendo. So what are we doing? A by B is equal to C by D is the original equation. So we are adding the denominator to the numerator, and we are subtracting the numerator from denominator on both LHS and RHS side. So that will also be equal to each other. That is what this says. We will make use of these concepts in calculation, but these things should be remembered. This will ease the calculation basically. Now a further set of properties. So see here, what is it? Now in our first session on properties of ratio, we had seen that if A by B is equal to C by D is equal to E by F, then we can write that is equal to K, then K is nothing but A plus C plus E upon B plus D plus F. I mean, this is very simple. Let us assume that A by B is equal to K, right? So I can also write this as, say suppose n times, or suppose 3 times A upon 3 times B will also be K, right? I'm just trying to prove this empirically. So this is also true. So this means that K is equal to 3A upon 3B. Now 3A I can write as A plus A upon B plus B plus B. Though this does not require any proof, but for the sake of those who don't get it actually. So now it is A plus A. So can I not write this as, and we know A by B is equal to C by D is equal to E by F. So this A and B I can replace as what? C, and another A as E, and here in denominator it is B plus D plus F, right? Because A by B is equal to C by D is equal to E by F. So that is what is K. So this is a rough empirical proof for this. This we have also seen in the first session on ratio properties. So now if this is understood, then we will now try to understand the other properties related to this. And those will be really useful in certain circumstances and certain illustration types. So now let us see, if a by b is equal to c by d, so I can write that a raised to power n, b raised to power n, c raised to power n upon d raised to power n is equal to e raised to power n upon f raised to power n will be k raised to power n, right? K raised to power n. So from the same, like this equation 1, I can further write this as k raised to power n will be what? A raised to power n plus b raised to power n, sorry, c plus e raised to power n upon b raised to power n plus d raised to power n plus f raised to power n, right? This we can write. This we can write. So now our original equation was what? A by b is equal to b by c by d is equal to e by f is equal to k, and k raised to power n is this quantity. So k from here I can write as nothing but a raised to power n plus c raised to power n plus e raised to power n upon b raised to power n plus d raised to power n plus f raised to power n raised to power 1 by n, right? So this is what I have written here as a property. There's nothing here. I come down to the very general form of all these things. Now let us see here. So that is what, if a by b is equal to c by d is equal to e by f is equal to k, then k raised to power n is equal to this. This we proved here, right? Property 2. Then, and if this is there, then a by b is equal to c by d is equal to e by f is equal to k, and k will be nothing but this raised to power 1 by n. So that is what I have written here as 1 by n. So now see here, and if a by b is equal to c by d is equal to, let me write here only, if a by b is equal to c by d is equal to e by f is equal to k. So if I write a by b as p times a upon p times b is equal to q times c upon q times d, there's no actually difference, because q will get cancelled out, p will get cancelled out from both numerator denominator. Similarly, r times e upon r times f, I can write this as nothing but k here, because everything will be k. So now this will be nothing but what? If I take a similarity or a analogy from the first equation here, from equation 1. So if this is the ratio of some general form, a by b is equal to b by c by d is equal to e by f is equal to k. So k can be nothing written as p times a plus q times c plus r times e upon p times b plus q times d plus r times f, right? This is what. So now see what is the difference. So actually we got this from what? This given was this. Given is a by b is equal to c by d is equal to e by f is equal to k. If this is true, so I can write this as this. We know that a plus c plus e upon b plus d plus f. But not only this, we can write the a or b can take any coefficient. Only thing that the coefficient of a and b has to be same. Similarly, c and d can take any coefficient, but the coefficient of c and d has to be same. It can be different than the coefficient of a and b. Similarly, e and f will take any coefficient, but those coefficients of e and f should be same. However, the coefficient of e and f can be different from the coefficient of c and d and a and b respectively. So that is what the most generic form I have written here, right? If, and this we proved also, because if I can write a by b as pa upon pb, c by d as qc upon qd, e by f as re upon rf. So now if this is in this form, so this I can also write as pa plus qc plus re upon pb plus qd plus rf, right? So that is what is the most generic form. So basically what, a can take any coefficient, however if a is taking that coefficient, b also has to take a coefficient, right? So similarly here also, if a raised to power n means what? Ki a is having a coefficient of, if it is a square, it means a is having a coefficient of a. If it is a cube, then a is having a coefficient of a square. So similarly, here also it should have a same coefficient. That is what it says here. So now let us uh, see a few simple illustrations here. So now, if say if a by b is equal to b by c is equal to 2 by 3, and I have to find the value of, then find, say suppose 2a plus, sorry, this will be c by d. 2a plus 3c upon 2b plus 3d. What is the value? So it is very simple. Now we can see that since a and b has same coefficient 2 and c and d have same coefficient 3, so I can write that this will be nothing but, 2a plus 3c upon 2b plus 3d will be nothing but k only, that is 2 by 3 here. Why so? Because this we have seen here, right? This we have seen here. So this is the answer. However, had it been some other form, then it would have been difficult to find out, right? Other way would be to what? I can take A and C both to be 2 and B and D both to be 3 and then substitute those. Then also we can get the answer, right? Or we can then, the most simple would be, I assume A to be 2x, B to be 3x, C to be 2y. Let us, solve that using that. So let A is equal to 2x, B is equal to 3y, C is equal to, sorry, 3x, C is equal to 2y, and D is equal to 3y. So 2a will be 4x, 3c will be 6y upon 2b will be 6x plus 3d will be 9y, right? So here I can take 2 common. I can write this as 2x plus 3y upon, here I can take 3 common. I can write this as 2x plus 3y, and this gets cancelled. So what remains is 2 by 3, right? 2 by 3. So this is the generic way of solving this problem of this nature. However, very intuitively and through this relationship, we can say that if the coefficient of a and b are same and c and d are also same, then we can directly write that the required ratio would be nothing but the ratio of a by b or the c by d, which is 2 by 3, right? So that is what has been given under property number 4 here. Now we will see some very basic level questions on proportion. So here the question is, find the fourth proportional to the number 14, 42, 14 and 24. So what does this mean? This means that it is given that 42 is to 14 is proportional to 24 is to x. We have to find the fourth proportional. So the fourth number is missing. So this I can write as 42 by 14 is nothing but 24 by x. So here I can solve this. 14 3 ja 3 8 ja, x is equal to 8 is the answer. Very straightforward question. Then here the question is, find the fourth proportional to the number 90 is to 30 is proportional 72 is to, say the number be x. So what can I write? I can write this as 90 by 30 will be 72 by x. So here 30 will divide 93 times. So here x is nothing but 24. Very straightforward and simple approach. Now let us move to next question. Find the third proportional to the numbers 50 and 20. So here the third proportional. Now point to be noted here, only two numbers are there and we are asked third proportional. So in that case, this is a case of, it is a case of, it is a case of continued proportion. Continued proportion. The two numbers are there and we are being asked third proportional. So this we can write as 50 is to 20 is 20 is to x. So this can be written as 50 by 20 is equal to 20 by x. So basically x is 400 by 50, which is 8. This is the answer. Now let us again see same thing, third proportional to 12 and 18. So here same thing I can write 12 is to 18. 18 is the second proportional, 12 is the first proportional, 18 is to x, right? This is the first proportional, 18 is second proportional. This is second proportion, right? So this I can write as 12 upon 18 is equal to 18 upon x. So this can be written as x is equal to 324 by 12, which is 27 is the answer. So it's a very simple basic level, just to acquaint you with the terms like third, what is third proportional, what is second proportional, and how to identify whether it's a continued proportion or a general proportion. So those things. Now here to find the mean proportional. Mean proportional is there in both the normal proportion also and also in continued proportion. In continued proportion, the second term is known as the mean proportion. If it is mean proportion, then it has to be second proportional or second term. So that means here 18 is to x is x is to 32. So from here I can write that, and we know that the square of, mean, product of mean is same as the product of extremes. X square is equal to 18 into 32. So this we can do like this will be 9 into 64. So from here we can say x is nothing but 24, right? Then similarly here we can, this is in proportion, this is a case of continued proportion like the question in part A, and we have to find mean proportional. So this means that it is 14 upon 363 is to x is proportional to x is to 28 upon 21 upon 128. So product of extremes will be same as the product of means. X square is equal to 14 upon 363 into 21 upon 128. So this we can solve like so 7 2 yeah, and sorry, so since we need not solve this, we have to just find the square. So it is 14 by 363 into 21 by 128. So this I can write as 7 into 2 into 3, the numerator, and denominator is 363. I can write as again 121 into 3, 121 is a perfect square, I know, and 3, this I can write 64 into 2. So now this 3 and 2 will get cancelled here. So this is 7 into 7 upon 121 into 64. So from here we know that x can be written as 7 upon 11 into 8. That is 7 upon 88 is the required mean proportional to these two numbers. Right. Let us move to example 4. This is also a very basic level question. If the age of Arvind and Pankaj are in ratio 5:3, so that is Arvind to Pankaj is given as 5:3. If Arvind's age is 20 years, find Pankaj age. So there are many ways of solving this. I mean, here we can simply say if 5 represents 20, so 3 would represent what? 12. Or there is another using proportion, we can solve that if 5:3 is proportional to 20:x. So product of extremes, which is 5x, is same as product of mean, which is 3 into 20. So here we can say x is equal to 12. Right. Just for the sake of using proportional, I am using here. Otherwise, just visually you can solve this and get the answer. So Pankaj's age will be 12 years. Right. Now next question. What is the least possible number which must be subtracted from 28, 20 and 40 so that the resulting numbers are in continued proportion? Okay. This is also fairly simple problem only. Herein it says that 28, that's the number subtracted by x. So 28 minus x is to 20 minus x, and since it is in continued proportion of 3 terms, so the mean will be same, and this is in ratio to 40 minus x. So x is subtracted from all the numbers. So here 20 minus x square is equal to x minus 40 into x minus 28. Right. So this can be written as x square plus 400 minus 40x is equal to x square minus 68x plus 1120. So x square gets cancelled out. So this becomes 28x is equal to, so x is nothing but 4, right? So what is the least possible number which must be subtracted? The least possible number is 4. So this was also fairly simple. Just a few things we needed to know, that what is continued proportion. So for continued proportion, A is to B is proportional to B is to C. So here the means are same, 20 minus x, and then we know how to solve the equation. Okay, now here question says if P by Q is equal to R by S is equal to 3 by 7, find the value of P square plus R square upon Q square plus S square. So here P by Q is equal to R by S is equal to 3 by 7. So I can write this as P square by Q square is equal to R square upon S square, which is 3 square upon 7 square. So now this can be written as P square plus R square upon Q square plus S square is equal to what? This is nothing but same 3 square upon 7 square, because a this, let us suppose you see A by B is equal to C by D is equal to some number k. So we can write that A plus B upon, sorry, A plus C upon B plus D will be what? K only. This we know. So this is 9 by 49, right? Which is the answer to this question. Or if we want to go by the conservative approach, which may be a bit time consuming, I mean this we did not have written here, just for the sake of understanding I have noted. Otherwise it simply clicks that this is the same. Here also it's p square q square, here also it's r square s square. So this I can write as p I can write as what, 3x, and q I can write as 7x, r I can write as 3y, and s I can write as 7y. So p square is 9x square plus r square is 9y square upon q square is 49x square upon s square is 49y square. So here what happens? 9 if we take common, x square plus y square upon 49 x square plus y square. This gets cancelled. So what remains is 9 by 49. Same as what we had got here as an answer. So here we have to assume and then solve other. Here directly we could have said, as soon as we saw that this is nothing but the square of the ratios, we could have simply squared the value of 3 by 7 and got the answer, right? Another problem here. Here it is written that a by b is equal to c by d is equal to 3 by 4. So we have been asked to find the value of 4a minus 5c upon 4b plus 5d. So can we say this is equal to 3 by 4? No, actually, see, we had seen that had the coefficient of a and b same and the coefficient of c and d also same, then we could have written as 3 by 4. But here the coefficient of c is negative and coefficient of d is positive, right? Coefficient of c is negative 5 and coefficient of d is plus 5. So coefficient of c and d are not same. Though the coefficient of a and b are same, coefficient of c and d are not same. So therefore, this question cannot be determined. Cannot be determined. If we see this, if we try to solve this using the generic approach also, if we solve this, so here let us say a is equal to 3x, b is equal to 4x, and c is equal to 3y, and d is equal to 4y. Let us assume this. So 4a minus 5c upon 4b plus 5d will be what? A will take 3x, so it is 12x minus 5c is nothing but 15y upon, here it will be 4b is 16x plus 5d is 20y. So if we take 3 common here, it will be 4x minus 5y upon, I have taken 3 common here, and similarly if I take 4 common here, it will be 4x plus 5y. So now we saw that see that this is not solvable further, because we get a term here in terms of x and y, and we do not know what will be the value of x and y. So therefore, from the generic approach also we see that this cannot be determined, right? However, since we know the concepts and properties of proportion, we need not have done this calculation using equations. We could have directly seen here that the coefficient of though a and b are same, the coefficient of c and d are not same. Therefore, this value could not be found, right? So this is where it helps to calculate and save your time. Now let us see this question. If a by b plus c is equal to b by c plus a is equal to c upon a plus b is equal to r by 12, right? So find the value of r. So this we can we write, I mean, the ratio is nothing but r by 12 is equal to sum of the numerators a plus b plus c upon the sum of denominators, which is 2 times a plus b plus c, which is a plus b plus c will get cancelled out. Here we are assuming a plus b plus c not equal to 0, right? Then only it will get cancelled out from numerator and denominator. So from here we can say that r is equal to 12 by 2, which is 6. So r is equal to 6 is answer. This is a case 1. I mean case 1, assuming a plus b plus c not equal to 0. Case 2, if a plus b plus c is equal to 0, this means that a is equal to minus b plus c. So therefore we can say that what a upon b plus c, the original ratio, is equal to r by 12. Here we can say that a upon b plus c is nothing but minus a upon b plus c. From here we can say minus 1. So minus 1 is equal to r by 12. So here r is equal to minus 12. So what are the possible values of r? So r can either take 6 or minus 12, right? This is the answer. So a few concepts which we used here. First one, that this is the property of ratio. If a by b plus c is equal to b by c plus, so we can write this as nothing but this will be equal to summation of numerator upon summation of denominator, which is a plus b plus c upon 2 times a plus b plus c. Now, I mean the tendency of us is to cancel the numerator and denominator, but numerator can only be cancelled if a plus b plus c is not equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, then what happens? Then we cannot say cancel out. No, this becomes indeterminate thing in that case. So therefore, we will break this into two parts. Let me. Yeah. So case 1, a plus b plus c not equal to 0, then it will cancel out, and what we get is half, right? So here I can will give r by 12 is equal to half. So from here we can say r is equal to 12 by 2, which is 6. Second case, if a plus b plus c is equal to 0, then a is equal to minus b plus c, which is a plus b, a upon b plus c is equal to minus 1. So that is r by 12 is minus 1. So that way we can get r is equal to minus 12. So these are the two possible solution of r here. Now another question, question number 9. Here it says that if a by 3 is equal to b by 4 is equal to c by 5, a by 3 is equal to b by 4 is equal to c by 5 is equal to 11a plus 12b minus 15c upon m, right? We have to find the value of m. So see, generic approach, let me solve first. That's a is equal to 3k. I mean this we can assume, no? A by 3 is equal to b by 4 is equal to c by 5 is equal to, let us say this is k. So here we can say that a is equal to 3k, b, a by 3 is equal to k, so a is equal to 3k, b by 4 is equal to k, so b is equal to 4k, and c is equal to 5k, right? Now substituting this value of a, b, c in the required a, 11a plus 12b minus 15c upon m can be written as is equal to k. This is the original equation, right? Here we will substitute a is equal to 3k, so it becomes 33k plus 12b means 48k minus 15c means 75k upon m is equal to k, right? So from here numerator has what is the value 33 plus 48 is 81. 81 minus 75 is 6k upon m is equal to k. K gets cancelled out, so m is equal to 6. So using the generic approach, we have found that m is equal to 6. But our motive is not to take this long route, rather we should use the properties of ratio to find this out. So now see, can I not write this as a by 3 as 11a upon 33? I'm multiplying 11 here in this first ratio, both numerator and denominator. Similarly, b, I see here b coefficient of b is 12. So I multiply both 12b upon 48, both numerator and denominator multiplied by 12. And here it is minus 15. So I write minus 15c upon 75, right? That is minus 75. Both numerator and denominator I am multiplying by minus 15. If this is the case, then this I can write as what? 11a plus 12b minus 15c upon 33 plus 48 minus 75. So this is nothing but 11a plus 12b minus 15c upon, this is 33 plus 48 is what? 81 minus 5 is 6. So this is, this if we equate to this equation of 11a plus 12b minus 15c upon m, so on equating we can get m is equal to 6. So just for the sake of clarity and understanding, I have written all these steps. Otherwise simply it should have clicked, it is since 11 here, here it is 12, here it is 15. So I just equate the coefficient of a in both numerator and denominator. So if a is having 11, so denominator will be 33. So 33. If b is having 12, so here it will be 48. If c is minus 15, here it will be minus 75. So our answer m would be nothing but 33 plus 48 minus 75, and that is 6. Very straightforward. If you are thorough with this concept or this property of proportion, which is if a by b is equal to c by d is equal to e by f, so on, then this is also equal to sum of the numerator upon sum of the denominator, right? So this is the solution to this question. Now, yeah, this problem actually we have seen a similar problem, and this actually appeared in one of the CAT, I think 2003 or 2004 year. So let us solve this. A by b plus c is equal to b by c plus a is equal to c by a plus b is equal to r. So this we can further write as r is equal to what? Sum of numerator a plus b plus c upon sum of denominator is 2 times a plus b plus c. This is what is to find the value of r. So again same way, case 1, if a plus b plus c not equal to 0, I write r is equal to what? A plus b plus c upon 2 times a plus b plus c. This will cancel, so it is r is equal to half. Case 2, if a plus b plus c is equal to 0, so this means that a plus b is equal to minus c, right? So we can say that c upon a plus b is equal to minus 1, and from here we can see that c plus a upon b c upon a plus b is equal to r, and here we c plus a plus c upon a plus b is minus 1, so this gives r is equal to minus 1. So what are the possible values of r? R is equal to either minus 1 or half, right? This is the answer to this question. Same as what we did in the previous question. One more question we will take. Here it says that if 4a plus 27b minus 16c is equal to 24, and the ratio is 2a is to 3b is to 4c is equal to 4 is to 2 is to 3. So it is given that 2a is to 3b is to 4c is equal to 4 is to 2 is to 3. Acha, a very basic thing I just reiterate, though I have discussed in ratio. If a is to b is equal to 3 is to 4, I can write this as a by b is equal to 3 by 4, or I can write this as a by 3 is equal to b by 4, right? Similarly, if a is equal to b is equal to c is equal to say 3 is to 4 is to 5, so same way can I not write a by 3 is equal to b by 4 is equal to c by 5, right? This can be written, this can be written. So same, if this is the form, I can write this as 2a by 4 is equal to 3b by 2 is equal to 4c by 3. So this is now in proportion term, right? And we have been given 4a. So now let us see. I mean, I can write directly write this. Okay, this will be equal to 4a, that is 2 times this coefficient, plus 27, that is 9 times this 27b, minus 16c, that is minus 4 times 4c. So this will be 4a. So 4a is 2 times 2a. So here also denominator will be 2 times. So 4 to the 8. Then 3b, it is 27b. So 9 times. So here also it will be 9 times. So 2 9 ja 18. Okay. Then here 4c and 16c. So that is minus 4 times. So denominator also minus 4 times, which is minus 4 into 3 minus 12. Right. So here we get what? And 4a plus 27b minus 16c is given as 24. 24 upon this is 14, right? So this is 14. So basically this means that 2a by 4 is equal to 3b by 2 is equal to 4c by 3 is equal to this. So from here we can say a is nothing but what? 24 by 7, b is 8 by 7, and c is I think 9 by 7. This we can cancel, no. So this will be 12 and 7. So this is 12 by 7. So this will be 9 by 7, right? I'm just multiplying. 2a by 4 is equal to 12 by 7. So a is 24 by 7. So that way. So a, b, c we have got. So we have to find the value of a square, b cube and c4. So a square into b cube into c4 is nothing but 24 by 7 whole square into 8 by 7 whole cube into 9 by 7 whole 4. So now this boils down to mere calculation only, no concepts further here on. So this will give some answer. We can do on the calculation on a calculator. So the concept basically, since we know we have been given this value, right? So we will try to form a frame equation ratios such that we get a similar thing in the denominator also. So here it is 4a, that is 2 times the 2a. So denominator also will be multiplied by 2. So 4 2 ja 8 will be here, right? Otherwise simply we could have written this as 2a plus 3b plus 4c upon 4 plus 2 plus 3. But that would not have solved our problem, because that 2a plus 3b plus 4c value is not given. We were given some other value. So therefore we did in this fashion. Or there is a very generic approach that we know that we could have used. What we could have written a is equal to nothing but, say suppose this ratio is equal to k. So 4k upon 2, which is 2k, b is equal to 2k by 3, and c is equal to 3k by 4. Now we could have put this value of a, b, c in this equation, substitute a, b and c in 4a plus 27b minus 16c is equal to 24 equation. This equation will substitute, and from here get the value of k, right? And if k is found, then k will substitute here back, and from here we will get the value of a, b, c, that will substitute in a square, b cube and c cube, c raised to power 4 to obtain the answer. This is the generic method. However, using this property of proportion, we can identify it very easily and obtain the answer also very quickly. So that is the, now we'll move to the variation part. So what is variation? So variation is two quantities A and B are said to be varying with each other if as one quantity changes in value, the other quantity also changes in value, bearing certain relationship with the change in the value of the first quantity, right? So this means that, now see, let us see, area of circle. We know area of circle is given by pi r square. So if r increases, a will also increase. So if r increases, imply area will also increase. Similarly, say suppose volume of what cylinder, pi r square h. So here if height h increases, so imply volume will also increase. So these are very, I mean, variations. If one variable varies, then the other dependent variable will also vary. The proportion or the amount of variation may be directly linked, or it may not. So that is another thing, but yeah, changes would be there. The changes may be in the same direction, or changes may be in the opposite direction. Opposite direction as in, if I see that if speed increases, then time taken to cover a distance decreases, right? So here what happens, that change is reverse. If speed is increasing, the time is decreasing. Though, so variable a and b are dependent upon each other, they are varying to each other, but the direction of variation is not same. If one is increasing, the other decreasing. So this is also a case of variation. So basically variation, a few things to remember here, are varying if two quantities a and b are said to be varying if a, when b changes, then a also changes in value, right? And a and b have a certain relationship. If here we see a and r have a certain relationship, here v and h has a certain relationship, here speed into time is equal to distance, right? So here also speed into time is equal to constant is a relationship. So it is bound by a relationship. So that is a variation. This is very generic definition of variation. Now there are various types of variation. One is a direct variation or direct proportion. So if a varies directly to b, then a is said to be directly proportional to b. That is, first of all, if a varies to b, so this is how we write a varies to b, right? So, or a is proportional to b, this sign. So if a is proportional to b, so here we can remove this proportional sign with equality sign and place one constant k and then write b, right? This is the way we can write. If a and b varies in direct proportionality, that is, if the the percentage change in a is same as the percentage change in b, then it is known as directly proportional. So to remove this variance sign, we will, to with equality sign, we can remove that, and we can put it, put a constant k here, right? Put a constant k. So here if I substitute, bring this b to denominator, it will be a by b is equal to k, which is a constant, right? K is constant. So when a by b is equal to k, if we say this, it means that a1 by b1 is equal to a2 by b2 is equal to a3 by b3, so on, right? This is a very generic way of writing this. So what did we study? We studied that direct variation is, if a varies directly to b, then a is said to be directly proportional. So what we mean by directly varies, this a varies b, it means that if a increases, then b will also increase, or if a decreases, then b will also decrease. Now it's not only that if a increases, b will increase. B will increase in same ratio or same percentage terms as a has increased. So the ratio or the percentage increase in a will be same as the percentage increase in b. This is the direct variation or direct proportion. And now to change this variance sign with equality, we can replace with equality, but we'll add one constant, and that constant here is k. So a by b is equal to constant. So this, if this is there, then we can say that any set of variable a1 by b1 is equal to a2 by b2 is equal to a3 by b3. So let us see now, in a generic term, if we see this is like, if this is a and this axis shows b, so a b, so this is the this a and b will be directed by this straight line, wherein if a, if this is the value of b, then this will be the value of a, right? If value of b increases to this point, then the value of a will also increase to this point, right? And the rate of change in b will be same as the rate of change in a. A few examples we will see. Again, I'll take the same thing of speed, time and distance. So suppose if speed is constant, so what happens? Distance covered is directly proportional to the time, or vice versa, we can say this, that the time taken is directly proportional to the distance to be covered. So this means that more is the distance covered, more the time will be taken if the speed is constant. So here I can write this as t by d is constant. This I can replace as t is equal to some constant times d, right? So t by d will be constant k. So it means that if, say suppose initially, say t1 time was taken to cover d1 distance, then if at the same speed t2 time is taken to cover same speed d2, so these two will be same. If the speed is constant, then the t1 by d1 will be same as t2 by d2. This is what this constant terms mean. Here the constant is nothing but the distance, I mean sorry, speed, right? That is reverse of speed basically. Here k is reverse of speed, but that is immaterial to us for now. It is just a constant for us, k. So same way there can be various examples, like the number of men employed in a field. So more number of men means more work is done. So that is directly proportional. More men, so same way I can say that number of men will be proportional to the work done. So higher the number of men, higher will, I mean, more amount of work would be done. So these are some very basic direct proportion examples. Now we will see the next case of indirect variation or indirect proportion, where if a varies inversely to b, that is if b increases, a decreases. So a varies inversely to b, that is if a increases, implies B will decrease, or if A decreases implies B will increase, right? So this, and we have learned that to remove this variance sign we can put equal to, but put one constant k by b. So from here we know that a into b is equal to constant, right? So what could be the representation of this would be, so if b decreases a will increase, so start from here, and if b increases a will decrease, so it will end somewhere here, right? This is the uh, graph for a by b. If b decreases a will increase, and if b increases a will decrease. That is the inverse relationship. One example we will take again the same example of time speed distance. So what happens if say suppose time taken is time is constant, time taken is constant. So what happens, higher the speed, in the same time if the speed increases, the distance will be covered will be, sorry, let the distance be constant, distance is constant. Hmm. So now if the distance is constant, if suppose I have to go from a to b, that distance is constant, and if I increase my speed, what will happen, the time will decrease, right? So speed and time are inversely relationship, inversely related, or indirect proportional to each other. How is it? Because if time increases, if I am taking a higher time to cover the same distance, means I am going at a slower speed, or if I am going at a slower speed, then I take more time, right? So this is the, so this I can replace here, and I can write as speed into time is equal to k, and here k is nothing but distance, we know. So this is a very basic of some proportionality. And yeah, one more thing, that when we say here, or even in the previous expression here is constant, it means if here say suppose t and d are directly related, so if distance increases by 2 units, so time taken will also increase by 2 units, because it is a directly proportional. Time taken will also increase by 2 units. So if it becomes, if t2 is twice the time t1, then d2 will also be twice the time d1, right? If t2 is equal to twice the time t1, then d2 will also be twice d1, right? So that means the change in the variables, change in the other dependent variable will be in the same ratio or same percentage as has been the change in the first variable. Same here also, same here also. If now here s and t is equal to constant, so if speed increases by twice, then time will decrease by half. That is the ratio, means if speed becomes 2 is to 1, so time will be 1 is to 2, that time will reduce by half. Similarly, if speed reduces to half, the time will increase to double. So it becomes, speed becomes 1 is to 2, so time will be 2 is to 1, right? So that uh, that proportion, or that ratio remains the same. So that is the core idea here. Now we will look into another concept of joint variation. Now see, joint variation is if there are three quantities. So far we have been seeing in the two quantities, keeping one of the, say if at all it is there, as constant. Acha, uh, going here, can we say, I mean, we saw that area of circle is pi r square. Can we say a is equal to pi r square is a direct variation or direct proportion case? Can we say this? No. Why so? Because see, if r increases, r becomes 2r, area will become 4a, right? If r increases from r to 2r, area will be 4a. So therefore that radius increases by twice, so area increases by 4 times. So that percentage change or the ratio of increase is not same on both LHS and RHS. Therefore this is not directly proportional or direct variation, right? This is not a direct proportion or direct variation. So these things should be noted basically. So basically, I mean, a case will be any two variable will be directly proportional only if it is in a single index of power. If it gets squared or tripled and the other remains in the power of 1 or 2 only, I mean the powers are varying, then it will never be a case of a direct proportion. It will be a different thing. Now same way here we were seeing joint variation. So if there are three quantities A, B and C such that A varies with B when C is constant and varies with C when B is constant. Here inversely varies. I mean even if directly varies not an issue. Just for I mean the examples which I have taken here, here it's inversely varying. So A is said to be to vary jointly with B and C, where B and C are varying. So let us see what does this mean. This means that if A is proportional to B and A is inversely proportional to C, so I can write this as A is varying as B by C. So to remove here I can write this as A is equal to constant B upon C. So this is a case of joint variation where A is directly varying to B and A is inversely varying to C. Or there may be a case where A is varying to B and A is directly varying to C also. So that way case it will be A is equal to K times B into C. That is also true, right? So a typical example would be time, speed, distance. So what happens? Distance directly varies to time and distance covered directly varies to speed also. So from these two I can say that distance is directly related to time into speed, right? So I remove this proportion sign here and I can write d is equal to some constant k into speed into time, right? So this is the generic form of any here. So here both the variables were directly proportional. Now I'll take one more example here. Say suppose amount of work varies directly with the number of men and amount of work varies again directly with the efficiency, right? Efficiency of man. If man is more efficient, so here also it says that work is proportional to both M and E, where M is man and E is efficiency. So this way we can take various examples and show that joint variation is basically one variable varies with another variable B, and the same variable A again varies with another variable C. So therefore, if we combine that, we say that A will vary jointly with B and C, right? So that is a case. We'll see various examples on this. Now another there's another different concept of direct relation. So far we had seen in variation that if A is directly varying related to or directly proportional to B, so the ratio or the percentage change in B will be same as the percentage change in A, right? So that is a case of direct variation or direct proportion. Whereas if A is said to be directly related to B if B changes in same direction as A. However, it may be noted that the change in B may not be proportional to the change in A, right? So that is the case here. It may not be proportional to the change. Earlier we were seeing that if A is equal to K times B, B becomes 2B or say 3B, then A will become 3A, right? A1 will be 3A. So 1 is to 1. I mean, same proportional change would be there. However, in relation, this is not true. Relation only says if it is related, then it will be there. If A increases, B will increase. So direct relation says if A and B are related, if A and B are related, so if A increases, B will also increase. If A decreases, B will also decrease. However, however, the quantum of decrease or increase may not be proportional to the quantum of increase or decrease in A, right? So one typical example or the real life example for this is when a variable A is there where it is written as C plus K times B, where so A is varying with B, and right, if B increases and say suppose C is a constant, suppose C is a constant, so if A increases, B increases, or if B increases, A will increase. However, if B say becomes 2B, so A will not be 2B here. A will be different than 2B. So for that reason, it is a case of direct relation, right? So this is the general form of equation here. A is equal to C plus KB. Graphically, we will show this as if this is uh, that is A axis, this is B axis, and this is the value C. So it will be like this, right? At B is equal to 0, the value which A will take is C, and if now as B increases, A also increases, right? So this is a case of direct relation. Similarly, inverse relation, A is said to be inversely related to B if B changes in opposite direction as A changes. That is, if B increases, A decrease, and if B decreases, A increase. However, the quantum of change or the proportion will not be same, right? So two forms we can write, either A can be say constant times some constant upon B. So here if B increases, A will decrease. B decreases, this value will increase and therefore A will increase. Or we can also write this in the form of A is equal to C minus K times B. This is also a case of inverse relation. Now here if B increases, what happens? This RHS will decrease, therefore A will decrease. If B increases, A decrease, right? Same as here also. So these two are the standard forms of representation of a inverse relation, right? So if it is a plus a is equal to c plus k by b, so uh, this I represent as, if this is a, this is b, and this is c level, so this will be something like this, right? And if it is a is equal to c minus kb, so this will be shown something like this. If b is equal to 0, value of a is c, and if b is equal to 1, it will be something less, right? This way it will be, and this is b axis. Here k is positive, assuming k is greater than 0, right? In this case, k is positive. So some basic about this direct relation and inverse relation we have seen. Now we'll see a few questions around the same and then wrap up this session. So if a varies directly, so a varies directly to b. So we check whether a square plus b square varies directly with a square minus b square. So if this is the case, I can write this as a is equal to kb, or a by b is equal to k. Now I have to check whether a square plus b square varies directly with a square minus b square, or a square plus b square upon a square minus b square is some constant k1. This we have to check whether this is not true or not. So a square plus b square. So I divide numerator and denominator both by b square. So it becomes a square upon b square plus 1 upon a square upon b square minus 1 is equal to a square upon b square will be k square. So k square plus 1, and here it will be k square minus 1. So now see, this is k square plus 1, k is a constant and k square minus 1 is both constant. So this is nothing but constant. So hence we can say that a square plus b square varies directly with a square minus b square. Why? Because a square plus b square upon a minus b square is nothing but constant, right? So proved. A conceptual question, nothing else. Now this is when a is kept constant, b varies directly with c. That is, b varies directly with c when b is at a is equal to constant, and when b is kept constant, a varies directly with c, constant. And when c is kept constant, so a varies inversely to b at c is equal to constant. So from these two, equation 2 and 3, can I say a varies somewhere like c by b? A varies directly to c and a varies inversely to b, right? So this I can further write as a is equal to k times some constant k times c by b, right? Now further we have been given that a is to b is to c is equal to 1 is to 2 is to 3, and initially a was 4. So if a is 4, a is 4, so b will be 8 and c will be 12. From this ratio we can say, right? So find the value of a when b equals 8 at c constant. So that is, now we know that a is equal to k into c by b is the guiding equation. And if a is 4, k is 12 and b is 8 will satisfy this. So here basically, right, Yeah. So A is equal to Kc by B. So here I write 4 is equal to K into C is 12 and B is 8. So K becomes 8 by 3. Right? K becomes 8 by 3. 8 by 3. So now the question says कि if B, अच्छा B is 8 already here. So let us make this any change. Let us assume this is 12. So if B is 12, what will be the value of A? So if B becomes 12, right, at constant C, so means C remains, let us make it 15 then. So if B is 15, just for the concept, I mean any number we can take. If B is equal, B changes from 8 to 15, whereas C remains constant at 12. So what is A? This is the question. So A we know is K times C by B, which is K is 8 by 3 times C is 12, B is 15, right? So it becomes 3 4 ja. So basically A is nothing but 32 by 15. This is the answer. Very basic application of some joint variation here. Nothing very tough. Just we need to be disciplined with the concepts. How do we go about? Now question number 14 says if the monthly conveyance allowance provided to Kunal by his office is 15,000, right? 15,000 rupees. Of usually Kunal drives 800 kilometer in a month, and thereby his total car expenses are just covered by the conveyance allowance. That is 15,000. So it means that Kunal drives 800 kilometer in a month and spends 15,000 rupees. However, during lockdown, he travels only 200 kilometer in a month. His total car expense was 9,000 rupees. 9,000 rupees. If he travels 400 kilometer a month, what will be his total car expenses? So let us see. So from here we see that, I mean, see one thing. Is it varying directly? Is it a case of direct variation? If had it been a direct variation, is it, if it is a direct case of direct variation, then what? Expense upon distance, the ratio would be same, right? If it is a case, is it a case of, so we can check that, that is expense is directly proportional to distance, right? Then only it's a case of direct variation. Is it a case? Is it a constant? Let us see. In the first case, it is expense is 15,000 rupees for 800 kilometer. However, in the second case, it is 200 kilometer and expense is 9,000 rupees. So is the two ratios same? No. So this is not a case of, hence this is not a case of direct variation, right? So this must be a case of indirect variation, right? Indirect variation, because no, see, sorry, not indirect, direct relation. This is a case of a relation wherein total expense is nothing but some fixed cost plus some variable cost, right? This is the, because it's not a case of direct variation, this we see. So then it must be a case of some relation, where relation we have seen is of the form A is equal to C times some kb, where C is a constant and A and B varies. So here also Here expense we can write as expense we can write as fixed cost, that would be F, plus variable cost we can write as V. V is the variable cost per kilometer into distance. So what is V? V is the variable cost per kilometer, right? So now this will satisfy. So what is it? Initially expense was 15,000. Let the fixed cost be F only. Variable be V into distance was 800 kilometer. And in the second case, it is 9,000 rupees. Fixed cost per month will remain same. Variable V into distance was 200 kilometer. So from here, if we subtract, we will get V is equal to 10 rupees per kilometer, right? So we have to find the expense at 400 kilometer. So what will be F plus 400 into V. F we can, and F will be how much from this equation? F will be 2000 9,000 minus 2,000, which is 7,000 rupees, right? So it will be 7,000 plus 400 into 10. So that is nothing but 11,000 is the answer, right? So basically this was a case like this what we saw. Irrespective of whatever you do, even if one does not go mm, drive the car, then also a few fixed cost will be incurred. Say suppose it's on a maintenance or other things, and the variable cost will be the cost of say fuel expense and other things, which varies per kilometer wise. So that is what this question was based upon. This is a case of direct relation, right? So when we studied discussed direct relation, what are the examples here? We forgot to mention the examples. This we can write examples. Whenever we see electricity bill, electricity bill is in form of like total bill. Total would be some fixed cost plus some variable cost, right? Irrespective of, I mean, even if we don't use any unit of electricity bill, then also we'll get some fixed charges, and the rest of the charges varies with the number of units we consume, right? So this is fixed cost plus variable rate into the number of units. This is the total charge. Similarly, the uh, telephone bill, I mean, those who have the landline connections earlier, I mean, even if you don't make any call in a month, then also you have to pay some 200 or 300 rupees as a fixed cost. So that was a fixed charge, irrespective of the number of calls we make. However, if the more calls we make, certainly you are going to get a more uh, telephone bill. However, even if you don't make any calls, then also there will be some fixed cost. So that is this is a form of total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost. Same in inverse relation. Typical example will be in industry. Again, total cost is equal to what? Fixed cost plus variable cost, right? Variable cost say per unit and number of unit produced. Say suppose it's a Maruti plant. So Maruti produces n unit of car in a year, and 1 unit of car, the variable cost is say V, right? So and from here, if what is the average cost? That is total cost by n. So average cost will be total cost by n will be what? V C into n by n is V plus fixed cost by n. So here this is inversely related. If number of units increases, the average cost will go down. If number of units decreases, then average cost will go up. Right. So this is some simple examples. We'll see discussion over this also. Now let us solve this question number 15. This is a good question. The speed of the train is inversely related with the square root of number of bogies or the number of compartments. The speed of a train when no bogies are attached is 60 km. If the speed of a train when there are 16 bogies is 40 km, find the maximum number of bogies which with which the engine or the train can run. So see, let us think over the problem. The speed of a train is inversely related to, so speed is inversely related to square root of number of bogies. But can we write in this fashion? Because this gives a direct or the inverse relationship, in inverse proportionality. So from here we can say that S is equal to K upon root N, right? The speed of a train when no bogies are attached. So if we put N is equal to 0, this expression is not defined. At N is equal to 0, this expression is not defined. So certainly this form of inverse relationship, this equation will not take. So what are the other things? This was the direct, I mean, inverse variation, right? Let us take a case of inverse relation. Inverse relation actually we can write in two forms. One would be speed is nothing but some constant, say f plus some constant k upon square root of n. This way we can write. This is one form. This is inversely related, so this is one form. Or we can write s is equal to f minus k times root n. This also is inversely related. How is it inversely related? If n increases, s will decrease. Right? If n increases, this term will decrease and therefore s will decrease. Here also if n increases, this will decrease. So which of the two forms we will take? Now since n at n is equal to 0, at n is equal to 0, the speed is 60 kilometer per hour. So certainly this expression is not suitable. We will go with this expression. This we cannot take, this we will take. So here, because at n is equal to 0, this expression is not valid, right? Denominator cannot be 0. It will be indeterminate. So we go with this. S is equal to f minus k times root n. Now at 60, when speed is 60, let the some constant f be f. That means that even if there's no bogie, engine will run at certain speed, right? K, and at that time 0, n is 0, right? At n is equal to 0. So from here we can say f is equal to 60 kilometer per hour. This is the first thing. Now at n is equal to 16, we have a speed of 40 is equal to f minus k times root 16. So this we can write as 60 minus k times root 16. So from here we can calculate k. K will be nothing but 20 upon 4, which is 5. So right. So now we have to find the maximum number of bogies. Maximum number of bogies for which the engine or train can run. So for maximum bogies, for maximum compartment or bogies, it means that speed is equal to 0. I mean, when speed becomes 0, then it will be carrying the maximum bogies. So let us say speed is 0, s is equal to f minus k times root n. S is equal to 0, f we know is 60, minus k we know is 5, n we have to find. So from here n is nothing but 12 square is equal to 144. So 144 is that number where speed becomes 0. So what is the maximum number of bogies with which the train can run? So that is nothing but n dash will be nothing but one, just this bogie 143. So with 143 the train can manage to run at near to 0 speed, not exactly 0. At 144 it will be exactly 0. So at what is the maximum number of bogies it can carry and run? It will be nothing but 143. So here we made use of the concept of variation. We saw that whether it's a case of inverse variation or inverse relation, it was not a case of inverse variation because there was some constant k also. At n is equal to 0, the speed was, I mean, this expression is not defined itself, right? So we cannot take this as an inverse variation case or indirect variation. We will now we looked into inverse relation. We know it can be given by either s is equal to f plus k by root n or s is equal to f minus k by root n, right? Any both of them say the same thing. If n increases, s decreases. If n decreases, s will increase, right? But here this equation is not suitable because at n is equal to 0, this will the equation will be indeterminate, right? So we will go by this equation and therefore we solve the question. We got 143 as a answer, right? So these are some few basic questions we took to understand the concept of proportion and variation. Further examples we'll see when we look into the applications of proportion and variation. Thanks for watching this video. Let's hope to see you in the next session.